Qbasic file handling. Welcome back everybody. I'm Prakash Pradhan, your trainer for this entire series. In today's topic, we are going to talk about one of the important questions that you find in your board exam. So most probably, I do believe that in order to modify any record would be the longest program that you have ever done using your file handling. That means a data file. So in this session, we are going to see a step-by-step process how any user can modify any kind of record. Okay, apart from deleting any particular this record, I do believe that modifying a certain record in a data file might be the longest program rather than comparing to the process of deleting any record. Now, so over here now we are going to see first a scenario how we can understand, or I'm just simply trying to explain you in the easiest way to understand that how modifying any record can be done in the easiest way, easiest step by step process with the help of this simply your paintbrush. Now let's see first scenario. Let's say you have one file. Okay, in that file you might be having 4 records. Let's say name, address and age. Let's take it, these are the 3 fields. Okay, these are the heading. I do believe by this time you know the meaning of field name. Okay, so these are the field names. So let's say first name is ABC, address is CD, just for the example that we are doing over here. Okay, XYZ, address, age, these are the data that we are having. Okay, so now these are your 3 records, let's say. Now you are asked to write a program with the help of your sequential data file that third record you will have to modify that. That means the third record what we are having over here is in a form of name is ABDD, address is R and the age seems to be 88. Now you will have to replace this last record with this name. Let's say the new record in place of this would be name will be Ram. Okay, address will be Ayodhya, let's say. Okay, and then age might be, let's say this 99. So now you need to remove this record, okay, and replace this record with the new record item over here. That means simply we are modifying a record. So what might be the possible steps that we are going to use in a sequential data file? I do repeat that again. I would like to inform you once again that there is no particular file mode that you have in a sequential data file in order to modify any record or delete any record. Deleting a record, I have already made a previous video. If you have missed out, I suggest you to go through that. So over here we are going to focus only in modifying a record. So what are the steps now? Okay, step number 1. Step number 1, first you need to load all the records. We are going to load all the records. Now, all the records we are going to load in a sense, I am going to load all this record first. That is step number 1. Okay. Now, after doing that step number 1, what we do now? Step number 2. Step number 2, now we search for the record that we want to. This is the step number 2. First, we are going to load all the record. So from those records that we have loaded just now, we are going to search for that one particular record that you are interested to modify. Step number 2. Step number 3. Step number 3 is if found that particular record that is supposed to be modified, then we will go to particular block and change the data. That is step number 3. So after we go to the particular block and change the data, step number 4 is that after that data is being changed, that changed data you will have to write in a one temporary file. Write changed data in temp file. Okay, now you might be thinking, what if I do not want to change that record? That means there are, let's say, 3 records, but the first record that I loaded right now was actually not ABC. That means I mean to say not ABDD, because we have decided to delete this, modify this last record. but just now we loaded just this one. So if record found, we will go to the particular block. Do you think we are going to find the first record? Because as per our criteria, we are supposed to modify this record ABDD. Whosever username is ABDD, we are going to replace it with the name Ram, address Ayodhya, and age something like 1900, give anything. That means in a third step, I don't think we are going to find it first. So what if I do not find that record at first? Data is already loaded. Now what we do now, that loaded record. So let's bring it bit down over here. What if I do not find the first record as a ABDD? Because it will take you to the particular block to modify the record only in a case if you find that record at first. So if you do not find it, okay, let's bring small change. In the fourth step, what we do now, write that loaded data in temp file. Okay, we are going to load record. We are going to compare it. If I do not find that first record as a name that I need to modify, then what will I do with that record? That record is already been loaded. So now that record we are going to transfer or copy into the temporary file. Okay, now this is in a case if I do not find that record. If I do not find that first record as a this name. Okay, but what if I find? Then it is going to take you to the some other block where you will be provided with the option to modify the record. Okay, so let's make it step number 5. Now there is one more question. Okay, I loaded just now the first record. Since the first record was not that particular record that I was supposed to modify, so that's why that data I transfer in a temporary file. So what will I do now after writing this data in the temporary file? Again go back to loop. That means you can say go back to first line where data was started to load. First try to understand this. What if I wrote that data into the temporary file? After writing the data, where will I go? Again, you'll have to go back. Where? Over here and load the next data. We'll load now this time this next data, this record. Okay, now let's say after loading this also we didn't find the record that we're supposed to modify. So what will happen now? Again this data will also get transferred into temporary file. So at last when we go back, we find the final data that we are supposed to modify. That means this condition is true this time. So what's going to happen now? It is going to take you to the particular block where the data is to be modified. That means in this particular block we are going to write the new data, and after writing that new data again we'll be going back to the loop because we don't know, there might be some more record. Okay, if the record reading process is over, then it will send you outside the loop. That means after it sends you outside the loop, what you have to do now, next step, step number 6, you will have to close both the files. Step number 7, now delete your master file and rename temp file as master file. So these are the steps now we are going to follow step by step in Qbasic program. So if you have even understood at least the 50% of what I mean to say over here, after you see the program, it's gonna be clear to you. Okay, so let's go back to the Qbasic and try to understand how the process of modifying a record is done in sequential file handling. So let's see, I am over here in my Qbasic. So let's check a file that we might have created previously. Okay, now let's run it. This command files is a command that is going to make a list of the file that you have over here at this root. Now we do have one file named as a student.dat. So I'm going to make a list of all the contents that we have in student.dat. Okay, so I'm going to open it in display mode. File number is 1 student.dat. Okay, so let's load all the record. So I don't want to waste your time, so that's why I'm going to use line input as 1 $. Print. First I would like to show you what are the records that you have over here. Okay, now Follow the protocol and write the entire tag over here. Now if I go run, how many records do we have? 2 records we are having. That means name, address and age. Kind of that. Okay, now we are going to write a program in a sequential data file to modify a record whose name is Lakshman. So we will modify this name Lakshman into Ram. Okay, let's do it now. So for that, of course, first I need to load all the record from the master file. Remember, first you need to load the record. That was step number 1. Now we are going to create one temporary file so that we can transfer the data. Now I'm going to create one temporary file. File number is 2. Now file name, let's give temp. Okay. Now you might be thinking, why did I leave this one line blank? Intentionally it is done. I'll show you that. Why not end of file 1? Because we need to load all the records. Now let's start loading the process of this. That means start loading a record one by one. Name dollar, address dollar, and age. Done. Now we need to compare if the files record what we loaded just now that stores in N dollar, that was stored in N dollar, if it is the name that you are looking for, then you'll have to process further. If not, still you'll have to write that data into the temporary file. So now if N dollar is equals to, okay, let's say which name we were supposed to modify. Let's say Lakshman or Ravan, anything. Okay, if you get still confused, no problem. Have a look your file first. Don't be in hurry. While not EOF 1 input has 1 because we know there are 3 records. So that's why we can write this. Okay. I don't need to close our end over here because we are in a 11 environment. See, we have 2 records. I would like to change whose record? Lakshman into Ram. Okay, so that's why Lakshman is to be changed. Don't forget that. Now, temporary file we want to create as 2. It's a temporary file. Done. One line break. While not EOF 1. Then we are going to load all the record one by one. Name dollar, address dollar, and age. If name that you have loaded just now is Lakshman or in a small letter also, okay. Now this record we'd like to modify. Then what if the name is found? What do you want to do with this one? This record I would like to modify. Then go to change. We'll write somewhere change. But what if the first record you loaded is not the Lakshman? In that case, that record we are going to transfer in a temporary file. Okay, we are going to write in temporary file. So, but if I found that name as a Lakshman, then what will I do? Then I'll go to one particular block where the change will take place. This is a keyword. That means it's a, we are using as a branching over here. Go to the change. It's a label actually. You can write anything in place of change. Change is not a keyword. Okay, it's a label actually. We have used as a label. So after you write a data in a master file, what will you do now? Again, next data loading process has to be done. So for that, what we do now? Go to home. Where is the home? That's why I leave the blank space over here. Because after writing that loaded data, I need to load the next record as well. So that's why I said go to home after writing that data. Now next one, change. Now name, we are going to change it into which name? We are going to change the name as a Ram. Okay, and the address, what address would you like to give? Address is stored in $8. So let's give Ayodhya. And the age, let's give anything you want. Now the data you have modified over here, where do you want to store it? Don't forget, it is not going to be stored in a master file. We are going to write it in a temporary file because changed data or unchanged data both has to be transferred in a temporary file. So I'm going to write over here as 2, and these are the field name that we use just now in order to load the data. So after writing this data, we need to make sure that there are further records and they are being loaded and compared. So that's why we're going to give went. Okay, so this process will continue, and if it finds a name called Lakshman, it is going to take you to the block change, and in the change the name that you uploaded just now as Lakshman will get replaced with the Ram, and the address for your $8 will also get replaced with Ayodhya, and the age that you have stored last time with the some name will also get changed as a 99. So after writing that address, name and age, it's going to be transferred in a temporary file. But now the next work, remember this step, now we need to delete a master file. So what we're going to do now over here, we are going to delete a master file. Just wait. Okay, now what is the name of your master file? Student.dat. Okay, now we need to rename that temporary file as a master file. So I'm going to do now name temp.dat as master file name is student. As student.dat. Now have a look once again. We open a master file and we create the temporary file. We use the word home as a label to go back. Now this line says load all the record. Okay, fine. We load the first record and we compare. Is the first record that you loaded from the master file, the name is Lakshman? Obviously, first record is not Lakshman for us. So in that case, it will not take you to the change. So it will go to the next line. It will take you to the change only in a case if the record is Lakshman, because we know that it's not this. So that's why it's going to take you to this line. So it will write that data from the master file to the temporary file. Now it will again send you back to home so that we can load the next record. You see, we are over here. We are not in the file means now it's going to load the next record. So it is going to compare the next record. So if it finds the next record name, okay, username is Lakshman, then it will take you straight away where? To the block where change word is written over here. It's a label. So where is that label? Over here. Now since the name, address and age is already loaded over here from the master file, it's going to modify that name, modify that address and modify that age. And after this modified record also we are going to transfer in file number 2. If you notice one thing over here seriously, whether you change or not, both the records are transferred in file number 2. See here. This is unchanged data, this is changed data. Now since the unchanged and changed data both are stored in a temporary file, why do I need to have the master file? So that's why I deleted the master file. But the next time when any user come in search of the data, that user is going to use the same master file name that they might know. So that's why we are going to change the temporary file name as a master file. So that means the record will get modified and stored as it is in a file name having student.dat. So if this program is right over here, that means it should not show any error. Okay, it will not show you any error. It will run as it is. So if I go to run and start, it will show only the blank screen. That means the work in the background is done. So it's showing file already open. That means we need to close it. Okay, kill student.dat file. Right over here, file is not closed. Have a look. File has to be closed. That's why. Close has 1 and has 2. Without closing a file, you cannot delete over here. So run, done. Congratulations, it's done. But how will you make sure that the modification is done? So in that case, this is the program file. You don't have to save it. Now I'm going to write a program to display the content of student.dat where a user named Ram will exist. Otherwise, this program was wrong. So let's see now. I'm going to load all the record from the master file because I do believe that you know the file name is already changed to the master file student.dat. So we are going to load all the record from the master file in order to make sure that the change has been occurred. Okay, so input has 1 and name, address and age. So we are going to print name, address and age. Okay, and then I need to close this loop. I need to close this file. Close has 1 and I need to terminate it. Okay, so it means just close my program. It's over. Now run this. Congratulations, your second record, the name last time it was Lakshman, it is been successfully changed or modified into Ram. So this was the step in order to modify any record from the sequential file handling. I do understand that the step might be lengthy because you all were, might be in a habit of writing a program having around 4 to 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines of coding. But this one, modifying a record, is bit lengthy comparing to the deleting a record. So I do believe that I tried my best to explain you in the easiest way in order to modify any record in a sequential data file. So I do believe it's going to help you a lot for your board exam as well. So if you find it fruitful, please do like and subscribe. Thank you.